everybody. Welcome back to Views with Verse, and this week I am excited again because last week I had amazing Molly Roberts on, and this week I've got the amazing Miss Laura Daligan on, so I've been in like fangirl mode for 2 weeks.
Hello.
And despite all the technology, we've got it working. We have the power, we have the technology. So welcome back to Views with Verse, the series where every other week or every week, depending on where we're at, I talk to somebody about deity and their views about deity, and we do it by Googly Hangout. And sorry, I've just noticed the chat people being like, "You're keeping me up all hours." I'm trying to introduce here, don't make me giggle. So we have the amazing Miss Laura Daligan today, and Cobbs.
Cobby, yeah. Is he there? Can you see him?
Yeah, I can see him.
Cobweb. Good. He is the Lord and Master. I merely just speak.
Mm-hmm. He moved right into shot just in time for us to talk about deity.
Typical.
So I think everybody should know, but just in case if anybody doesn't, Miss Laura Daligan works primarily with the goddess Morrigan, as do I.
Yes.
And so the question that I start off with putting to people is, how do you see deity, and what does deity mean to you? Nice and easy, just to start off.
But firstly, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be with you today, and also like to be in your company. I love your videos, as you know, and also to follow up Molly as well, so it's a real honor to be here. Deity, well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this before we started talking today, and how over the years my opinion of deity has shifted, or how I connect with deity has shifted. Whereas I think a lot of people, when they start doing witchy stuff, maybe what I've heard is they have the goddess as a whole big thing and then they kind of specialize later. I specialized, or was forced into specialization at first. You know, I was Morrigan spear pointed pretty much as I started getting interested in Wicca and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. And it's actually more recently that I think maybe living in Glastonbury's done it. Maybe it's something in the water, literally. But I've started to be less specific, to see the bigger picture. And it's really bizarre for me because I'm a very faithful person. I find it quite painful to look away from the Morrigan who I've dedicated myself to actually seeing the goddess in a full faceted way, in a bigger picture way. But then I guess what we think of the Morrigan is only maybe one aspect of the Morrigan. So she's shown me the different aspects of her. But it has been interesting the last few years. I've not been allowed to be as specific, to be as I am a girl of the Morrigan. I've kind of been pushed into uncomfortable zones of looking at other areas of life. So I feel the goddess walks us through the different aspects of our own personalities, our own souls. And what we think she is only as far as we developed to see what she is. And as we develop and shift, it's like she's leading us those ways. Does that make sense, or is that total?
No, completely. It makes sense to me. I was thinking about, as you were saying that, like maybe that's Morrigan doing that to you on purpose because it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So this situation makes you feel less comfortable. Let's just push you into working in a more abstract kind of fashion.
Yeah, and I love it. I am loving it because I think I'm loving it now. I was shocked, but yeah, again, I think everyone said this who works at the Morrigan. You go through intense periods where she is there and she demands your attention and things happen, and then you go through those times we said before where she doesn't seem to be as present. But I just feel like it's because the way I work with her, or what I felt was her, was in one box, and she's like, screw the box, man. You know, it's just like box schmuck. You could open up and deal with the other side of things, and left me out there a bit with it. And now I've come into this place of real peace with that, I think, which means it's going to change again.
Yeah, the minute you're comfortable, rug from underneath you.
I know. I kind of just felt, as I said that, I went, I'm at peace with that. I felt a spear in my back, and I was like, oh, bugger. Why did I even say that?
Not for long.
I know. But I love it, that the more abstract way of looking at the goddess, and the more searching myself and finding those different parts of me, and reflecting that in my work, and not just picking on one area, like warrior, rah. Looking at different parts, the more vulnerable parts, and I've had to really go there. And and it's interesting because I ran a goddess course last year where we looked at all the different archetypes, and the whole group was really excited about the warrior week. No one wanted to do love goddess week. No one was interested in love goddess. They were like, no.
Really?
I don't like love goddess, no. And I was like, okay, I quite like that. I'm down with that. No one wants to do the maiden week. They were like, no. I think it's hard with the maiden because we live in a society which, reveres youth above all things.
Yeah, venerates the youth,
yeah, it can be very hard. So I got that. But it was when we got to the warrior week, everyone had a really tough week and everyone was moaning. And I was like, yeah, being a warrior, it's just not easy. It doesn't mean you have an easy time of it. And I think that I was working so much with the warrior aspect in my life that you don't have to go that way all the time. I think I was being shown that you maybe attract things to you that aren't quite in your alignment if you're focusing on that all the time.
I talked a little bit, I don't know if you saw it, but I was having messages from the Morrigan and it was about rabbit energy. And I was really confused about Morrigan rabbit energy. And the messages was actually about Rabbit the Fear Caller. And it was basically you're calling what you're afraid of to yourself and manifesting that in your life. And I thought that worked really oddly well with Morrigan because there was this fox rabbit thing that was coming through, and then it was very much like you can be the fox and the rabbit, and you have to like kind of be between the pair of them. Like you can't focus on what you're afraid of all the time because then that's what you'll manifest, which I think Morrigan is a big goddess of anyway. Like if you're afraid of it, we're going to manifest it in your life and you're going to deal with it. But that's something.
Sorry, I'm buzzing.
Sorry.
I get excited. I get way too excited, and I don't mean to. But I had that same thing at Samhain, not last year, but the year before. On Samhain, I ran over a rabbit, and it broke my heart. Like it totally broke my heart. I never killed an animal before, And I was crying on the roadside at Samhain because I'd killed this rabbit, and I was just in a mess, an absolute mess for quite a long while. And it was what the rabbit brought out, that emotion, which was. Whew. And then I was looking at, it was Samhain, Morrigan time, rabbit, like you said, and at the time I was in a lot of fear, and it was just the same thing as you said. I looked up and I realized that that's what I was doing. So it was such a horrible lesson, but a huge lesson. The rabbit seemed to do that, and like you were saying with fox and rabbit, like when I do the paranormal stuff, you have to go predator prey. You have to look at the prey as well as the predator, or the predator as well as the prey to get the balance. I'll calm down now. I get too excited.
It's all right. Be completely excited. I do that too. And we'll sit here and we'll bounce on either side of the camera. So chat is talking a lot about the shape-shifting aspect of the goddess Morrigan, which is perhaps the bit that I have always connected with most. So how do you feel about shape-shifting energy within Morriganic path walking? How has that influenced and affected your path with the Morrigan?
I find it as working in a shamanic way a lot with Morrigan as well, like with journeying and with drums, and shape-shifting is so many different things. And I often work with shape-shifting in animal form, so into her animals, or into my own power animals. And that plays a huge part in me tapping into different aspects of power and energy and learning. But I find that the shape-shifting aspect can be one of the most empowering parts of working with the Morrigan because you're taking on something. And I also feel that because she is a shapeshifter, it makes me laugh so much. People tell me the Morrigan is this and wave their finger at me. You're missing the blooming point.
The minute you try and tell Morrigan she is something, good luck with that.
I just go, and that's fine if that's what people want to think, but that's everyone's on their own path. But she is the ultimate shapeshifter in appearing in different forms in different places in your life as well. So I work with the shapeshifting in a very animal form and calling in the goddess to me and seeing how that works. And how I've done that in Oracle as well, bringing the goddess in and doing the Oracle. But I think as well, seeing how she appears in different areas of your life in totally unexpected places. Is a really, when you really see you're getting a message from somewhere, and you can see that that is her bringing that through in different ways, and that she has to be a shapeshifter. She has survived through thousands of years, and that she is still probably more relevant now than she has been for a long time, if not, you know.
Absolutely. I like how there's comments in chat, which Laura can't see the chat, by the way, so I'm relating chat.
To me.
And Nathan's like, preach. That was hilarious. So hello to everybody who's made it and who's with us. Hi everybody. Hello. And yeah, so you touched on something there, which is the idea that Morrigan is primal and goes and shapeshifts throughout time, and this is something that I truly hold to. Like, I truly believe it in the core of my being, that she is older than any one set place or mythology. I feel like she goes right back. Like, I'm getting cold shivers down my spine.
I've got shivers too. I was like to say that. I've got shivers.
Which is usually when she's like, yes, child. Yes, that's it.
You've got it. You've got it.
And it really does. It feels like so expansive, and it does feel like one of these drops of water that just runs through time almost. And it's so difficult to quantify who the goddess Morrigan is. How do you go about that when someone says to you, right, I'm interested in the goddess Morrigan? Who is she? How do you even start that conversation?
Well, I often find that people do. Lady came up to you a couple of weeks ago and said that, and you find they've been briefed already with a lot of poppycock. So it's almost like deprogramming everything they've been told. Not like I'm right, but well, I am. No, I'm joking. I'm not really. But it's almost like they come to me going, I've been told you shouldn't call on the Morrigan. I've been told this is scary, and I've been told trouble comes, and it's just like that's. You know, and it's when I started like a long while ago, the first thing I was told was don't work with the Morrigan by a big group of pagan people, which is a bit like a red rag to a bull to me. I'm like, you said no, did you?
Oh, I'm exactly the same way.
But not that I'm saying would ever suggest to anyone to skip into it with, you know, and think it's not going to be a challenge. But I would not go in. I'd go in with the biggest amount of honor, a biggest amount of respect, but leave the fear at home, because there's a lot of pre-ideas that you have to kind of deprogram first. And I would say that it's always good to read the books, always good to read the myths, but I would go into nature and I would go outside and I would connect from my soul to a place that feels sacred. You'd just find a place that you feel you can connect with her, and I would go and I would do my own journeys. I did do silly old Laura. When I first started working with the Morrigan, like I was about 24, and I was a bit like, I'm into witchcraft. I'm going to cast a circle. You know, I'm going to call the Morrigan, because I was just a bit excited. And I called her, and she came, and she was like, what the, you know, why have you, you know, like just because you can. So I'd also be people like, it's not something to do just for fun or to do just to prove a point, because she just gets a bit pissy with you if you do that. It's not great. It's not an ego thing, but if you want to connect and to, I would call on her in your heart. I would maybe write her a letter. I would talk to her. I would do a little ceremony, maybe involving a crow feather or something very, very simple, a candle, and I'd call her to me. I'd ask her if she wanted to connect with me, and I would wait patiently and see what happened. And I think you often find things do happen, but I'd be humble, I'd be respectful. I wouldn't be 24-year-old me.
Hindsight is 2020. So Nathan said with me, it was more the Morrigan was interested in me, not the other way around. It may just be me. So I feel that this is something that does happen with the Morrigan, is that she decides. And it's always a bit of a sore spot with some people, because if you sort of say, well, the Morrigan decides who she wants to work with and for how long and that sort of thing, there's kind of like this as if you're being superior to them in some way. And it's not that at all. It's just that not everybody should work with the goddess Morrigan, because I don't think some people are going to get the right lessons out of it, because some people see the kind of being broken down part, and they resent that part, or they get broken even further by that part, rather than seeing it for what it is, which is difficult, but it builds you.
Yeah. No, totally. And I'm this, I totally get that as well. Like, as like Nathan was saying, totally. I was, oh, you there? There you are. It went weird then for a second. No, I was totally the same. It was a sense of feeling called, because I hadn't got a clue who she was. You know, I didn't. Well, I had a vague clue. I'd heard her be spoken about, but she literally came into somebody else's meditation with a spear and but I wasn't really doing that much then. I made a little altar to her, but it was almost putting me on the sidelines till I grew up a bit. So she kind of marked me a bit for then, and wait till I grew up a little bit, and then came back in. And it's true, but people do feel that they've been called by her. But I totally agree. The last thing I ever want to be is superior. And it's not like we're in a little club and no one else can join. It's not that at all. And if you do feel really passionate about her, then maybe there is something there, but maybe it's not the right time or something like that. Like me at 24 wasn't the right time, but I still was put on the side. So maybe do a bit of research, maybe do a little bit of connecting, but don't be offended if it isn't quite yet, because it could be a timing thing.
I always think that quite often with deity in general, it tends to be the deity that you're not expecting that speaks to you in the end, because I didn't know who the goddess Morrigan was either. I'd spoken to Mother my entire life. There'd always been Mother in the back my entire life, like even from being a kid. I remember having conversations with deity at a very young age, like praying to Mother, if you like, but I didn't know who she was until much later. And even when I found out who she was, I didn't know who the Morrigan was, and there was less information then than there is now. Obviously she's much more center stage now than she's ever been, in at least possibly since ancient Irish times. But it's one of those things where you're like, you don't have to have all the answers right now, and just because you want to work with someone doesn't mean that's the best goddess or god to work with necessarily.
Enjoy your day in the meantime. Enjoy the holiday.
Because when it's Morrigan, you'll know. You'll know,
and it's not easy. So enjoy your holiday. Have a break. Maybe go and do something a bit more chilled for a while. And
So Natalie says the goddess Morrigan destroys ego but builds strength. What do you think?
Ooh, I'm a little funny one with ego, because I am on the side that ego isn't a bad thing in moderation.
Me too.
I kind of go to a lot of yoga classes. No, I don't. I don't go that many, really. It makes sound very. I go to a few yoga classes, and it's all about destroying the ego. And I kind of go, without the ego, I wouldn't even be in this yoga class. You know, because you'd be a mulchy mess, not doing anything. And ego makes you want to do a YouTube channel, to create something. Ego gives you that fire to go, I'm going to do something. So I do agree, like ego imbalance and ego issues. That is, but I think the Celtic warriors are pretty ego-y in a good way. They were like, look at my necklace, I've made a great necklace, and they're the most show-offy of all things. So I'm just a bit I agree with the feeling of that it destroys that overinflated or injured ego. So with an injured ego, I'm not good enough, you're going to get slapped. Overinflated ego, you're going to get slapped. So it more creates the balance with the ego, I think.
And if we're thinking of it in terms of Freud, with when you've got like your id and your super ego and then your ego in the middle. So your ego is your regulator in psychology. So if people are looking at me like, what are you talking about, right? In terms of basic psychology, the id is the animalistic side of the personality or the psyche. I want everything now, sexual drives, the wild animalistic side. And then your superego is kind of like your higher morality self that's very abstract and not in the now, and can be very good for your spirituality, but then can be kind of like taking you out of life if you let that go. And the ego kind of regulates between the two. So it depends on how you really perceive ego. So and the Morrigan can be a little bit arrogant from time to time, because she's a badass. And so it's not necessarily that any of these things are negative. And I you know, the Morrigan isn't angelic saint, like, you must never revel in anything, because that's just not who the Morrigan is. You can look in her myths, you can connect with her, and there is this feeling of, when you have done something worth reveling in, revel in it for a time.
Yeah. Then shut up after a while.
then stop and do something else worth reveling for.
Yes. Yeah, because exactly, she's definitely a very physical goddess of being passionate about things. And what's going to be passionate if you don't enjoy it?
I think passion is something which doesn't get celebrated about the Morrigan enough. I think she's incredibly passionate. This can apply in all sorts of different ways. But we live in a time where, like, kind of passion is, again, you know, if you're too passionate, people will try and silence you from one perspective or another. And the Morrigan is not about being silent about anything.
No.
If it matters, we're talking about it, and you will talk about it, at least in my experience.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. And people to be living their passions is something I think she helps you, because that's you and your proper life force, your proper flow. And if you're not living your passions, that's another thing where you can find that things get broken down, relationships will end, or work gets scarce. She's not gentle about it, is she?
No. She's not terrible, like there's about it, but if something is not for you, the Morrigan will let you know that this is not for you. Like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, we're not doing this, we'll do what we're supposed to be doing, that kind of that feeling.
Yeah, tell me what's going on in the chat.
Let's have a look at chat's quite busy, which is good. Dulce Marie posts, yesterday I made a guided meditation to Macha. Is that pronouncing it right? I never pronounce it right. It's spelled Macha, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Macha. After I finished the meditation, I cried so hard. I've been noticing signs here and there, but until now I wasn't sure, but now I knew it was certainly for her. So do you work with Macha?
Yeah, I do. Particularly when I went to Emain Macha in Northern Ireland. That was her hood. I'm trying to find a better word and I couldn't. That was her, and it was one of the most, I felt the connection there strongest anywhere I went in Ireland. Emain Macha and Macha or Macha. Macha the Red, you know, she had red hair and everything like that. I can get down with that. But I do like her. I like her stories. I like the fact that with the Macha stories, they are more human in a way, so we can relate to them sometimes more. It just has a more fairy aspect as well as the warrior aspect, and the wronged woman making right kind of thing as well. But I did feel with the land there, that was the most loving energy that I'd felt with any place. So I felt a real connection with Macha, and also with the horses. I love horses. So I find that the horse energy, the wild galloping horse energy, and the passion is a real thing that I love about Macha. And also the fact that she's very much of the land. You know, she with her brooch, she kind of she marks out the land, she divides the land. When the land wasn't right, she suffered. You know, she is an aspect of the goddess which is of the land, and that's what I really like.
Let's have a look at some more quotes. For anyone who wants to know, I am more attuned to Bave energies. I'm more attuned to crone, death, rebirth energies personally, and the mother energies are something that I struggle with a little bit. Now I'm going through a phase right now which is very much about looking at wombs, bloody earth, and birthing pains. So I think we're very much in her space right now, but it's from a kind of a completely different angle than most people, because I do like to come about things from a weird angle with the goddess energy. It's like, oh well, you thought you were going to be oh, have we lost you?
I'm back.
Technology. But I do come about things from an topsy-turvy kind of angle.
I think she likes that though.
I think she does that on purpose.
Yeah. I kind of realise when I'm not doing what everybody else is doing, it's probably the right thing. My Aries Aquarius likes that as well, but I've realised that she doesn't want you to always follow the books and do the same thing. So not always anyway. Anyway, yes.
Melinda says that I found there were hints from childhood, like connecting to Fae, etc. I was going to ask about childhood experiences in that regard, but Joey already went there. Well, we can ask Laura about childhood experiences if you felt anything into your childhood with the Morrigan or deity or witchiness in general.
You know what? I probably feel very dull now because I don't. Apart from that, I used to always dress up as a witch, and I used to draw graveyards as a child. I think I felt really, yeah, I was a child that played in the fields and was into fairies. I didn't feel anything goddessy that I can remember. I was very Christian when I guess though, I'm thinking now. I was brought up as a Christian, yeah. That's cool. I'm down with everything. That's fine. I was always cast as Mother Mary in the school play, and for years on end, I was Mary, and I was, that was great with that, because Mary is an aspect of the goddess, whether it is, and I was always happy with that. And then one year, I got resignated or resigned to being a sheep, and my faith in Christianity went that day. Oh, how could I be the mother of Jesus and then be a sheep?
There you go.
I was like, yes.
Moment of spiritual crisis, becoming a sheep.
Age 8. So no, it's always like, I just, I'm kind of joking, but I was always very fascinated in spirituality as a child, but I just saw it my Christian thing because I was brought up in that way. But so in childhood, not really. It was more teenage years where I got into this kind of thing. Sorry, nothing exciting apart from sheep there.
So I have an interesting side note that I've just realized from your story. In the nativity plays, I always used to get cast as the angel Gabriel. And it used to drive me crazy as a kid because I was like, isn't the angel Gabriel a bloke? And I got really quite cross about it. But when I look at it, the angel Gabriel is like the voice of God, right? Am I getting that right? And now I work with Babe, and I work with voice work a lot. And Babe, obviously, screaming banshee work is a big part of Babe. So I've just seen this weird little connection to being cast as angel Gabriel.
Yeah, and being Mother Mary, and shape-shifting to a sheep. Sheep are fine, I'm an Aries. We can do sheep. It's fine. But exactly, I've kind of the mother nurturing. I'm a bit of a mummy. I'm not a mummy, like I'm not an actual mummy, but I'm a bit of a mummy character with people. And the goddess is a goddess form. And then, I think it's interesting, even though it's a comedy line, it kind of comes into your path in some way.
So Tanya is saying she said to pick back to Pixie Dew, but I think it's worth us covering it a little bit. I'm not sure if land sovereignty is how I think of parts of my path, but how I walk in the world, and my responsibility to the land is kind of to do with responsibility and sovereignty. So I guess if we're forming it like a question, do you feel that your relationship to the land and how you interact with the world and the world around you is part of sovereignty and part of Morriganic path working?
Very much so. I think it might be the most important part. And I think there's moments of real big epic moments of the Morrigan, and actually the day-to-day walking of your path is the real work. And where people and how you live your life and how you connect with the land, and being really true to yourself, and maybe thinking about the choices that you make is the big work. Really, it's not all crows and thunderstorms, though we might have one. It is being true to yourself in your relationships and in how you connect with the land. And the land is a huge part of my path, more now than it ever has been. So
So for anyone who didn't know, I've got rain and crows going on, and Laura's got like thunder threatening and crows going on, and we were like, are we gonna get all of this like atmosphere in the background? And now we can't hear any of it.
I know, literally, I was like, it was like a movie. I was just sunbathing for a minute, and then it all rolled in black and crows flying overhead, and I was like, I'm going to talk to Joey.
I am here. Okay, so Natalie asked, I know there has been discussion about offerings, but I find she demands more time or action from me than things. What are your thoughts on this?
I do what she says.
So I don't see necessarily there being a separation there.
No,
Time and actions are exactly the same as offerings. It's
Yeah.
just a different facet. It's just a different way of looking at it. So to deity, that would all be the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's any different. I sing for the Morrigan a lot, so that's the thing I do.
Yes. And sometimes she demands things and you feel very clear that, okay, I better do that now.
Yeah.
Not later, now. My
Mhm.
friend was saying to me yesterday that she forgot, she promised to do a blood offering. Now, blood offering isn't for everybody. I'm not saying you have to do a blood offering for the Morrigan. But if you say you're going to do one and then forget,
you will find yourself bleeding.
Yeah, she did. She literally said she fell over about an hour later and her blood was everywhere. And she just started laughing, going, you know, I forgot, and you know, these things happen. So people feel differently about. I mean, often like things like wine or whiskey or whatever it is. Like I do feel that she tells you what she wants sometimes.
Mhm.
Well, always, but
Mhm.
absolutely not even sometimes. But as you're right, you know, there's no difference between creating a piece of art, writing a poem, singing a song, to getting some wine. And you know, to me, it's, as you say, it's all just go with the flow, what feels right, and listen. It's all an offering, and your life is, you're walking your path is an offering as well, that you're focusing on your path and focusing on her.
So I bought whiskey. I always buy whiskey for the goddess Morrigan. It's just always been something that I felt called to do. There have been other points where she's asked for other bits and pieces. Occasionally she'll ask for milk and honey around certain times of the year, and that's, I think, more of a fae feel to it.
Yeah.
But whiskey is a big thing. Once I gave her Scottish whiskey. Wow, was I wrong? And I bought Scottish whiskey because I went to the shops to replenish my Irish whiskey, and they didn't have any Irish whiskey on the shelf anywhere. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, okay, I can't go back without the whiskey. I'll just get the Scottish. It'll be fine. Nope.
It wasn't fine. Oh dear.
And I poured it and I got a feeling of dread, like it wasn't. And I was like, okay, I know, but I'll go back in a couple of days and I'll get you some Irish whiskey. Anyway, the Scottish whiskey ended up with a crack in it and the whiskey went all over the floor.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah. You know, don't you, when you're doing things and going, this isn't right, this isn't making anyone happy.
Okay, let's have a look at some more questions from chat.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask questions, by the way, chat.
Yes, please
what we
do.
love.
Please do.
Age 8, I was hurting spiritually and became a Satanist because I liked the goat head. By age 9, I love Koronanos. I can never pronounce Koronanos, and technically there's no correct pronunciation. So
Yeah.
And looked into paganism, but I was severely bullied from then on as I was dubbed devil worshipper. I'm still having an issue to justify to alleged adults why I'm wearing certain symbols, etc. So I guess that's talking about misrepresentation of goddesses and gods, and in your case, Jamie, that's Koronanos, which I guess we can talk about a little bit. But I mean, Morriganic practices gets completely misrepresented in like one of two ways. Either people are like, she's super evil, dark scariness, or they try and make her to be lighter than she is without being able to kind of like balance in the middle. So how have you seen that? I guess how have you dealt with that as well? Maybe.
It's a constant thing because people are always going to, it does surprise me. I live in a bit of a bubble. I live in Glastonbury where kind of anything goes really. But it is sometimes shocking to me and I know that I'm lucky in that way, that people still don't get it and they still think you could be doing bad things. That's just kind of being pagan as a general, and especially going to dark goddess energy, more because the goddess is kind of accepted if you have it as a loving mother goddess. The camera keeps going. I hope I'm here. Even in a lot of goddess communities like Glastonbury, the goddess accepted, but the Morrigan's still shunned. You know, at this, and so actually, it's still a bit of a funny one to bring in. I'm a nice guy, but being the Morrigan energy, but I don't feel the need to explain myself to people. If they ask, I'll answer them. And if people are going to judge, and they're going to judge, and you can't make them not. You can just be a decent person and express things as calmly as possible and hope they can see something in that. I think that's, you can't change people's perceptions if they don't want them to be changed. And there's a lot of people out there that will judge that maybe don't want to have their perceptions changed. But I like being a bit of a Loki character by just getting in there and just making them feel a bit, oh, that's not what I was expecting. So yeah, it's hard. I know it must be hard, especially in different countries. Like, I'm very lucky where I am. I don't get that much judging. But I think you can't change people, so don't react to it. Just be you and be the best version of you as possible, and that will have a knock-on effect.
Tanya, that's amazing. Tanya says, as I have part Jamaican on my mum's side, I found the Morrigan doesn't mind some rum infused with spices.
Cool. Yummy. I bet she doesn't. Bet she likes it.
I think the Morrigan is a drinker. I think she enjoys a good alcoholic beverage. And that's quite like, someone else was talking about mead. So I can imagine that rum with spices is quite a lot like mead in a lot of ways. So
I like mead. Most of the gods and goddesses like mead. I mean, what's not to like, really?
And again, it's a honey thing, which I think it's the eternity side of honey.
Yeah,
because honey to me represents eternity, because it doesn't go off. It's like one of the only things that doesn't, and it preserves, and that to me is kind of like parallel with the gods, like they are eternal and they can be preserved. So that's why I feel like a lot of gods
absolutely. It's the ambrosia that all the gods, in Norse mythology, the sacred mead was the golden ambrosia. It's in all of it. So the gods, we like mead. And also I think in Delphi, some types of honey was hallucinogenic. So I think that there was this visionary aspect of mead and honey as well coming through.
Well, that's a good question. Gothic Arcana asks, do you ever argue with the Morrigan? I always think I'm supposed to be doing something, but she always wins and I end up doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That's it in a nutshell. Yes.
I do. Yes, and it's sometimes more of a discussion of, not now, but it's a discussion sometimes. And I think what I feel is that she chooses people that are pretty strong-willed. She chooses people who don't just go okay to everything, that will go, why? No, I don't want to do that now, or actually put our foot down about certain things. And usually in the end we get back to it, but we've got to go our own way, and that gives us part of the experience that makes us grow. So I often disagree.
Yes, you did tell me about the situation about blood and laughter with the Morrigan, and whiskey is a must. That's Wolfraven. That she'll get her blood if you don't, if you said you were going to give it her. I absolutely have had disagreements with the Morrigan, and I agree. I think like that she really does go to her sons and daughters, because it's not a gender specific thing, which is something nobody's asked yet, but I am going to just throw it out there. It's not a gender specific thing. And she does look for strong-willed, out of the box thinkers, I'm going to say, because she likes to throw lessons at you, like we talked earlier, from all over the place. Like you'll be like, what does this rabbit think? And you're sat there like, there's no rabbits in the mythology that I know of. And if I even, like, some people who are very strong on the myth would like be like, no, it's not Morrigan then. And I was like, yeah, but it is. And I don't know where, and I've had to sort of switch my thinking around and come around in like kind of labyrinth circle style thinking with it. And yes, and if you resist your lessons, you will keep banging into your lessons until you've learned that lesson. No, you're going to learn. No, you're going to learn. No, you're going to learn.
I had that with boundaries with people. Like I'm rubbish with boundaries. I'm learning that one. Still pretty bad. And she gave me the harshest lesson of really a dangerous situation because of my lack of boundaries. And that was one, I think what she does is give you lessons that you're never going to forget if you don't listen the first time or the second time or the third time. By the fourth time, the lesson you'll get will be one you will never forget. And I have a scar on my hand from that lesson. Like it was a lesson that I will not forget. So
and you're wearing it for
I can see it. You let your boundaries down, then, or you let people walk all over you, or you don't follow that inner feeling of say no, then something's going to happen that's going to be showing you that you're not going to forget. So I'd probably listen before you get a scar.
Melinda says, oh my God, get me some of that hallucinogenic honey.
Oh, yeah. I think it's in Greece. I don't know if they do it anymore, you know.
Mary asks, can you please ask Laura about any personal experiences with Brigitte?
Oh, yeah, lots and lots. She was the first goddess that really appeared to me in a just appearing way. And I think she works not with, she's very different to the Morrigan in my view anyway, but she's of the same tribe. And I actually found that I needed that as well. I didn't even realize it, but I did. But I think that sometimes if my problems seem to, oh, she's being soft again, you know, Morrigan doesn't want to hear about it sometimes.
She like, oh. Pawns you off on Bridget.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know that feeling.
She's whining about boys again. Bridget! And there's just some lessons that Morrigan just isn't great, or at teaching, which Bridget has more gentleness and compassion to teach. So it's like leaving a kid at creche for a day kind of thing. And I love Bridget. Bridget can be fierce too, obviously. You've got Brigantia. But the Bridget, and she is no softie, but she is, I just
softer.
feel like, sorry,
softer, but not softie.
Not softie, softer, but not softie. And I just felt the most a lovely unconditional love from Bridget that was just really healing, and just that a very healing maiden energy. And I did when I moved to Glastonbury, I did the Priestess of Bridget training just because I had just moved here, I wanted to meet new people, and I really needed that actually, because I found that it's my own fault. I don't look after myself very well, you know. And Bridget was that one to remind me, or to show me ways of just nurturing yourself. So I love Bridget. I think that she does work in tandem with the Morrigan, as in Morrigan will leave you with her when when she doesn't want to deal with your stuff.
Yeah, she definitely has this kind of like sister energy to the Morrigan. And what I found is if I'm in need of certain kinds of healing, then it will be Bridget rather than the Morrigan, because Morrigan will be like kind of like pull you up by your bootstraps. You're going to get up, you're going to keep fighting. And then if you're at a point where you're like a puddle on the floor and Bridget's like, hang on a minute, hang on, we'll do some healing and then we'll get back up. And that's kind of
I find that Morrigan is quite fiery, but I think with that, the flame of Bridget is something that needs to be kept going in all of us, that spark of innocence and youth, as in youth in the heart, like not youth being young. And I think if you get too serious or too hard, that's a danger that can happen with the Morrigan. That as a person, the stuff that happens could make you hard, and I think Bridget is needed then to go, come on, soft. And that spark, that flame has to be kept alive, otherwise it's a balance, isn't it? I think it's a really good balance.
Jamie says, I feel that I'm quite zen and I have a low-key trickster personality, so I always stand my ground and walk away from bad situations. We don't need to justify ourselves to anyone. There's been a lot of trickster energy this year. It's been one of those years for it.
Yep.
Would you support the idea that Morrigan is in the same energy space, I guess, as all of her triple aspects in other forms appear as Astarte, Lilith, Luna, Selene, Hecate, Artemis more? And does the Morrigan have horns when she appears to you? Well, I've never seen the Morrigan with horns. I don't know about you.
I bet that's prawns for a second.
Prawns, delicious critters.
She likes prawns. Horns. No, I've never seen, and I love my horns, but not prawns, horns. But I've never seen it with horns. No, and I see a lot of antlered energy, but it isn't Morrigan to me with antlers.
No.
And I do think she's very different. I think Morrigan more than most is different to other goddesses. Do you feel that? Like you can sometimes go.
This might be because she's our mother thing, though.
Maybe exactly. It could be like the thing where I'm not knowing the ones as much. And maybe if I was dedicated to another goddess, I'd be like, no, she's very unique. But I kind of feel Morrigan is very unique and doesn't really sit with the triple goddesses as such. No. That's how I see it, because she'd kick me if I said otherwise.
So Morriganic energies to me are very they're shapeshifty, but they feel a lot of the time like they are of the air and the ether first. Now, that's not to say she can't. Now, I work with Babe, so I have a slightly different perspective to those who work with Macha. That might feel more land-based. But when I work with Babe, because she's spectral, because there is crow and hooded crow energy, because there's screeching and wailing, and there's a lot of it is in and of the air, that's the primary space that comes through a lot of the time, not all the time. We have watery energy with eel-like energy coming through, and there will be, you know, wolf energy, but it never feels like kind of horns. I mean, you could go for like a horned cattle energy, but
never seen her like that.
No,
that's me. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen her horned either. So for me, again, she does feel very different to other energies of other goddesses, and I have connected to energies here, there, and everywhere of different gods and goddesses because of the work I do. And this might be true for Laura as well when she's connected to an energy in painting. So through the process of creation, we do tend to like pull down on energies of different gods and goddesses, and she feels very different to me.
She does to me too. Yeah.
Okie dokie, let's see what other questions we've got. Oh, and Nathan basically said what we said about she will appear differently to everyone based on what you require from her and what she needs to teach you. This is true.
Yep.
Dulce says, I saw on Instagram that Laura made a handfesting ceremony. So my question is, how was her journey to become a priestess?
Cool. Cool, thank you. Yeah, that was lovely. I really enjoyed doing that. I've done maybe one before and then been involved in a couple, but it was just really lovely to do that. Well, it's interesting because I saw on Facebook the day someone was going on about how everyone on YouTube's a high priestess these days.
Oh dear.
And I was like, I don't know I'm a bit in my own little bubble most of the time, and it's just interesting because I am a high priestess and but I am, as in Wiccan, I've gone through the degrees, but it's something I even forget it. I don't go on about it, and I wouldn't, because like I don't know, it doesn't seem, but I find it's a shame that that's a bad thing, because actually that's going through when I've been in covens in the past, I've done my journeys with covens, and you go through some trials and tribulations, and you are seen in that community, and you're seen to go through them to come to that level. So it does not make you better at all, but I think it's like any accomplishment. Like, I've got a certificate in this. It's something that means something because you've been through the work. And actually, I forget that I've done it. But yeah, I've been through Wiccan covens, and I was very lucky because my coven was very shapeshiftery. It was very chilled. It was very shamanic. And so yeah, I kind of came through things my own way. So I've done my second degree in Wicca, and I never start my own coven, but I just started teaching people different things. And actually, I've been shown recently that I've got to step up a bit more to being that priestess, not to go around going, I am this. No, but I'm the opposite. I'll go, oh, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Actually, it's time. And I've noticed that maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, I had to step up. And I didn't do anything about it, but then opportunities came to me. Will you do our hand fasting? Will you hold this ceremony at St. Netzon's Glen? Will you be the priestess that does this? And I said yes, and because I've got to step up. So it's having the honor to walk that path, and to don't have to go through a coven, but you do need to do the work to be a priestess, to walk your path, to be able to hold the energy and hold the space for other people. And you can do that on your own without anybody else. It's helpful to do it with other people because they'll keep you on track. So yeah, that's been my path. Been many years. And I've done my second degree years ago, and I have been told recently that I have to step up. So I have.
I'm going to work backwards through the questions a minute, so bear with me, chat. I want to ask
in a nice mug. Don't worry about me.
So the Pagan Wildwood asked this question, and I think this is a really interesting question. So I'm going to start with this question, and then I'm going to work back to the other two. I promise I'm not ignoring you. Could the return of the Morrigan be timely as all the goddesses? She is one who has the power to challenge patriarchal rule.
Absolutely, there is no coincidence. There is no coincidence. And we're at a wave in time now where huge shifts are going on in all kinds of ways. And she is riding that wave, and she is awakening people, I think, as much as anything else, to their own power and to their. We are very submissive human beings. We go, okay, yes, fine, until something happens. And now at that time when things are happening, and she's there to shake us up. So yeah, very timely. And so other goddesses are coming up to be compassionate. Other goddesses are coming up to heal ourselves so that we can be good in this time. And she is awakening people. And I think she loves men. Don't get me wrong. No way. She's not. I don't mean like in a challenge patriarchy, men hating at all. She loves men, but she won't be mistreated or see women be mistreated.
So I think this is true with a lot of dark goddesses. I think, for lack of a better term, I don't like the term dark goddess, but for the lack of a better term, so your death goddesses, basically, or goddesses who have a death element to them, have been very vocal this year for a number of reasons. I feel very much like this is an underworld year, that the veil is very thin this year compared to most years. Like it feels a lot closer to underworld energies to me this year. And so there is a natural kind of coming forward of these goddesses. And the Morrigan's like, there is war coming. And she's been saying this to me and to a lot of followers of her path for a little while now.
Yeah.
And it's just there's something tangible in the air right now, like war could break out worldwide at any point. And it could be civil war. It could be a war against controlling people and patriarchy, if you like, or however you see that oppression. It can be fighting back against things that have been keeping people down and keeping people small. And there definitely is an energy of that in general right now.
Yeah.
So Mary asked, have you had any experiences with Caradwin showing up?
Not so much, really. No, not so much. I mean, I like Caradwin, like the stories, but I've never really connected with her. There's a big Caradwin thing in Glastonbury. I think we're near Wales, so yeah. But not for me personally. How about you?
Okay, so I'm mostly Welsh.
You Welsh?
We're Mr. Welsh. So it's a little bit easier for me to connect to Welsh energies just because it's in my bloodline.
Yeah.
And so when I created a set for Caradwin, her energies came through quite strongly at that point. She hasn't come through at any other point, apart from when I saw out the energies and the lessons and the feeling of her. But she had a very, how do I even put it? She's kind of stoic, but there's like a wealth going on behind the stoicism. Like there is a churning, there is a depth, there's like, it's almost like a vortex of spiritual information. So there's kind of like, she's like a very strong teacher energy to her. And it was very much though that if you wanted to learn from Caradwin, you'd be like head up to your neck in it. Like you would be diving head. And because I am dedicated to the Morrigan, and the Morrigan is, I'm up to my neck with the Morrigan, that's not a place that I could go to as fully as if I wanted those lessons. So she was willing to talk to me, presumably because of honoring her with a set for somebody else who was honoring her fully, and working with that. But because I couldn't like get right up into my neck into those energies, there was a little bit of a standing back with
I felt that as well. I've kind of felt in the same way, like not there's no point in going there, but kind of like you've already got something going on in that area, so that's what I felt
like Caradwin. Maybe she'd be quite similar in her lessons, a different way of looking at it, but similar in the lessons that she might. So Jamie said he once had a crow attack his feet when he needed money, and as I was moving away I found £20 on the floor. I picked it up, it flew away, and I intuitively said thank you to Morrigan and bought some mead. Have you ever had anything of this nature happen to you?
I've bought a lot of mead. Yeah. Yes. I mean, there's been lots of moments over the years. I'm trying to think of one in particular. I mean, crows always appear leading to places. I don't think I've had. They've not given me any money and they've not attacked me. I feel like I should maybe try and get the money going. But where's my money? Hey? But they're always there. They're always there. So they've never attacked me or anything like that, thankfully. So I'll stay after money if they don't need to attack me. That's okay. But they're always there, and I used to follow them around like obsessively when I first connected with the Morrigan. I used to follow them around, and they used to look at me like, she's crazy, she's following us around. But they appear, and you know when they're her, you know when they're the messengers. Yeah. Absolutely. But they don't attack. They haven't attacked as yet, hopefully.
No, not me neither. And maybe it's because we're more open to the messages. Maybe you only get attacked if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I've had other things happen when I've not been paying attention, but that was, exactly. If you listen and you're open, she doesn't need to shout.
Mary wishes to compliment you on your mug.
Oh, what a mug it is.
What a mug. Where did the mug come from?
The mug came from you, my lady. It was my birthday present from you. This is the best mug ever, isn't it? Look at the mug.
I nearly brought mine up so we could do that, and I was like, no one will care. But then I should have done it. But
they will. How could you not care about such a mug?
They're amazing, aren't they?
The ears are the best thing ever.
They're the best bit. But I have been having dreams and hearing constant voices that war is coming here. I'm in Texas. I was afraid of war at the start of this year, but we're pushing it back hard. War isn't what it once was, but we still have tools to fight. So I think the thing with war is it's a human concept. We have to bear in mind. And war and what we consider to be war is a human analysis of a human concept.
Yeah.
So there are people who are like, the Morrigan only applies to war in full-on warfare.
Yeah.
And I always get a bit like,
nah.
Because warfare is not what it was back when we were talking about ancient Celts. It's not like hand-to-hand combat for the most part anymore.
No.
Especially not in our parts of the world. Currently, touch wood, you know, war is very removed, but this may not be the case much longer. But for me, there is a warlike element to life and fighting the battles in life.
Yeah. And within ourselves as well.
And within ourselves, yeah.
And with the land. So it's just defining what, you know, because what we're doing to the land is war.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a few people I know have had that same message in their dreams, and I haven't had that message. But I think I come at it a different angle. Everyone comes at it a different angle. And I think everyone comes at different gifts with it as well. As you say, this war, it's a big subject, isn't it? You know, and I think people say war's coming only when it affects them. But I just said there's kids being bombed in Syria, so war's there already. So it's just like, it's a tough one, isn't it?
So Little Blackbird asks, that's an amazing name, Little Blackbird. I love that. By the way, blackbirds have been everywhere this year for me.
Have they?
Mm-hmm. So who is the most obscure god or goddess that has popped up for either of you?
Ooh. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I mean, some of them come through. I don't know who they are, you know. Don't know if they're obscure. I don't know who they are. Is anything obscure these days? I don't know.
That's what I thought. I was like, is there an obscure deity now?
No, I don't think everything is pretty all go. I feel like the ones that have come through in interesting ways was like Medusa. When she came through to me a few years ago as this gorgeous African woman who was a goddess of the earth and the land and healing, and more obscure ways they come through, you know, ways you're expecting goddesses to be and what they actually come through as. It was really cool. I don't know if any obscures come through. I mean, no, I don't know. I mean, lots of different goddesses have come through, and it's depending on where you go. Like when I go to the White Spring in Glastonbury, Gwyneth Neath comes through clearly, more clear than anything ever. Like he is there talking to you and making you feel a woo. So there's gods that you maybe don't expect to come through to you, but they're not obscure. But it's sometimes the power in which they come through when you're not actually dedicated to them comes quite strongly.
So the only one that I've had that I've mentioned a few times though is Hades has come through, and I had Hades in my curtains, which sounds probably as kinky as it was a weird experience. I was like, there's a man in my cut, and I took a photograph. I have the photograph to this day. You can see him in the outline in my curtains. It was weird. And that was bizarre to me because I know a great deal about the Greek pantheon, but I've never been called to work with it personally ever. So for him to kind of like, and he was making himself known. Known. And I was like, I don't think Morrigan sanctioned this, did she? Because there's something very bizarre about this whole scenario.
You're hiding in my curtains.
And I was like, Morrigan, do you want me to do this? And there was silence. And I was like, nope, then. Nope. I'm not getting involved if you haven't got permission. Nope.
Get out my curtains, mister. Did you see that picture? It's not bizarre. Well, it is bizarre. It was about a year ago, and I was doing a fire dance, and we were doing the fire dance to the Omni and Morrigan song, and I lost it in it. I was like proper lost it with the fire, and there was a photograph taken of that fire dance, and the woman's face, the Morrigan's face, was as clear as a photo in the smoke. And it's just things like that when you just go, oh, I'm not making this shit up, am I?
I love moments like that. Like, that's confirmation right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I never doubt myself. I never really go, that's actually happening until you see a photo of the goddess's face in the smoke of your fire sword while dancing to Omnia's Morrigan song. So yeah, I love moments like that.
Nathan asks, please talk about Morrigan leaving her followers feathers, as I've asked for some but have not received any. So I'm waiting.
Yup. I used to go stalking the birds. I was like, but I want my feathers. I'm going to find them. I think we can be a bit desperate sometimes. I know that I have been. And sometimes you might be like, but why do you need them? You know? So if you're not receiving them, it's like because there's a need in us to have something. And maybe she's trying to show you that actually right now, that need isn't what you need.
It may well be that your lesson has nothing to do with crow energy as well. Because I was talking earlier in this chat, I think Nathan was been there from the very beginning, about it being rabbit energy, and I was like, what on earth is this? Like, I was like, I don't, and then it will make sense when you figure it out. But it's sometimes it's nothing to do with crow energy, and so that's not where your focus should be. And if you're kind of like, I want physical proof, and then it's kind of like, well, why are you doubting yourself? Like, if you're going to put yourself in a space of doubting yourself, then I'm going to amplify that doubt and make you sit with that doubt and make you question that doubt until you get to the space where you believe in me, and then you'll get a feather. That's probably what's going on.
It's like if I was getting some tarot cards and going, but why doesn't he love me? Guess what? The cards aren't going to say anything good. But when you get into a space of openness, that's when all the answers come. But it has to be genuine openness, not, I'm open, look at me, I'm open. Where's my feathers? But I was the same when I first started with Morrigan. As I said, I was running around the park, chasing the birds, waiting for a feather, you know, and it's keenness. You might applaud keenness, but you don't get the stuff until you've learnt the lesson.
I've been getting dream messages for the number 369, another puzzle to figure out and how it relates to me. I'm so not a noble person. So 3, 6, and 9 are all numbers which are all related to the number 3. 9 is a goddess number, 3 is the goddess number, and 6 is 3 and 3. So you've got life, death, rebirth, mother, maiden, crone. That's what 3, 6, 9 would mean to me.
Very much so. Very Morrigan numbers, and very global goddess numbers. Most 9 goddesses is the standard for myths in the world, and so
Hades, again, the underworld. Perhaps the curtains were symbolic of him trying to invite you to peer through the veil at him. Oh, he wanted to work with me because I was being stalked by pomegranates. And I'm not kidding. Every time I would turn around in a store, there would be a pomegranate in the weirdest place. And I was like, this is not normal. And I have been doing a lot of underworld work, and there has been like Demeter energies recently as well. So there is a theme. But Hades was definitely like, I want to work with you. I got that very strong impression. So
I love it. Love
the paintings in the background. That's what Miss Laura does.
I do. Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Stagg's over there. And then I've got my Wolfie drum, which has got Joey's got her wolfy drum too. This is Loki. Loki is a naughty, naughty drum. That's all I have to say.
When she was making my drum, which is this drum, Loki was throwing himself off the wall.
He was literally throwing himself off the wall, and he's got some wolf fur on the back and wolf teethies. Oh, my cats ran away at the wolf.
So this is what one of the things that Laura does is paint drums, and she runs art classes, and we'll plug all that in a minute because we are at time pretty much. I will ask a couple more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Then we will plug you. But I did want to say, like, this is my number one spiritual item of last year and this year because I just freaking adore it. It's just beautiful. So let's see. Let's have a couple more questions and then we will finish up. Oh, okay, we can ask that. So what happens if you do receive blackbird feathers or crow feathers?
Oh, well, whatever you feel is next. I mean, often I collect them and make smudge bundles out of them. I put them as offerings on my altar. I keep them for a very long time until I feel it's time to give them back to a place. I used to tie them in ribbons, create Morrigan objects with them, maybe at first just offer them to her and then see what comes.
I have a whole load of them. The very first lot I found, and I got gifted a swan feather and a hawk feather at the same time, but I have them all in a bundle behind her statue. So there's like crow feathers.
Yes, that's what I've got as well.
And one thing. But that's a very personal thing. And I would say to you, with things like that, trust yourself.
Yeah.
Just trust yourself and what your instinct is. And I think we'll finish with this question. We'll try not to go on too long because Laura is very busy. But what are your experiences with Fae?
Yay! Very strong, very strong. Morrigan came in first. And the fairy aspect is a huge part of my life as well. Probably what brought me to Glastonbury. And fairies as varied as the goddess. Fairy is so many different things. I often think by saying fairy is like if someone saw an elephant and said all animals are elephants. You know, fairy is such a huge concept and huge varying creatures of all different intentions. Some which do not want to talk to you, some which do, some which are all different versions of manifested. You know, there's beings you can actually see, tangible things, and then things that are very much ethereal. I feel like fairies can go between the veils and pop in and pop out and show us them. What we once knew, I think that we were once a lot close to the fairy realm and the nature spirit realm, and they have over time gone behind the veil more and more, and we get snippets of that. So I think it's a lot less now than it ever was. However, in very powerful nature spots and people who are really open, you can get the sense of that connection with fairy. They're a bit tricksy though. It's like they're not all safe and smiley.
Yes.
So working with fairy is the same as working with the Morrigan in a way. Like, you should be really aware that don't open up your arm and go, take me.
Yeah, don't do that to Faye. You're not coming back.
No. And you know, it is a beautiful, oh my God, like the energy of Fae and the nature spirits is so healing and powerful and strong. And some would say that a lot of the goddesses and Fae are a similar energy, like, you know, spirits of place, spirits of waterfalls, spirits of sacred sites could once have been goddesses and gods. You know, it's hard, I think, as English people, sorry, I don't mean English, I meant human people.
As English people.
And English people, we really like boundaries and boxes and borders to put it all in. And I think we limit ourselves, we don't really understand. And if we just go in and explore, Fae is a very healing, youthful, gorgeous, heart-opening energy. But also, some of them just don't give a and they want to mess with you. So
there is definitely that. You just be respectful would be.
Be respectful. Don't invite anything in you don't know how to banish. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I will say Melinda did ask a quick question, which was, what are your favorite tools to work with at the moment? And I already kind of said that my drum is one of my favorite things to work with right now that Miss Laura Daligan painted. So I'll put that to you as the last question of the day. What is your favorite tool to work with right now?
My drum is I was saying the other day that the drum, you become so connected to it more than any other object, I think, because it becomes such a living, breathing thing that connects you to your animal guide. So it almost becomes your animal guide. And so for me, that goes beyond all of the things, because the bond that you create with that drum, it's irreplaceable. And I'm getting back into crystals, actually. I've got some amazing crystals here next to me that someone's given to me from Australia. And I've got back into, these are beautiful, raw cut, is it opal or something? So that's like a blue opal, but it's all raw cut. And this is like a jasper from Australia. And I held it and I went, Mother, like it was Mother Earth. It was and then I looked up the meaning and it was Mother. I've got back into crystals and connected with crystals a lot more. I love all tools. I love things. But I think the drum goes beyond a thing into being a being that I just it's my leopard drum mainly as well. That one is the one that is my friend.
Well, my drum actually represents my ancestors in a way, because the wolf that is, okay, we'll just show it because we're gonna plug anyway. So this is the story behind this is that I asked for a wolf and didn't say much else other than twilight colors, please, in the background, and there are stars because starry-eyed little lady. And Laura basically painted Snow with an E, and Snow is basically one of my ancestors who has been with me all the way through my path working. And has guided me for a very long time, and I cried when I saw it and cried when she got here. And so the spiral question has already been asked by chat, so thank you, answered by chat, so thank you for answering that, chat. The spiral is not necessarily associated with one goddess in particular. It's more of a symbol of internal work and going inwards and then going outwards. So would you like to plug it, where else people can find you, Laura, and what else it is you do as we finish off?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to see more of my artwork and the drums, and if you want like your own drum, Laura Daligan -art is my website. You can find it on Facebook as well, which is Laura Daligan Weird with a Y, Weird and Wonderful Art and Illustration. Why I didn't choose an easier name to remember. I think it's actually Facebook Laura Daligan Art and the thing on the top, but you put my name in it and put art, you'll probably find it. And I've got next weekend in Wales, I'm doing a paint your own sacred drum workshop and a totem animal workshop as well next weekend in Wales. I'm looking forward to, and I love doing that because everyone goes, I can't paint, and everyone creates a drum that they love. Everyone can, we have a lot of blocks about it. And also drums won't let you do anything that isn't right on them. It just is just unspoken law. So yeah, I love teaching that. And also if you want to do readings and do online courses, etc., and that's at lauradaligan.com. But find me on Facebook and that, and I've always got links to different things.
There are a couple of links down below already for Laura, which links you to your YouTube channel and to the lauradaligan.com page, which I think you can get the other links.
You can get everywhere
from that
else
one.
From.
Yeah. So there are links down below with regards to finding Laura space. You can find me in all those many links down below. If you're already here, I assume you know who we are, but there are many links down below to the Starry Eyed Supply store and to the blog and all that goodness. And I will be on a podcast at the beginning of next week. I shall find out the details for that for you guys and share it with you. I'm hugely excited about that. And there will be another chat with Miss Chris, because she's been told by chat the other day that we're doing it. That's it. There will be another one of those on my channel next week. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the questions. It was awesome today. Well done, chat. That was amazing. And thank you to Miss Laura for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Exciting. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining us, and many blessings.